Young world, a couple little spooky things I'm sitting there thinking about. For one, Mutulu Shakur, Tupac's stepdad, been locked up for all them years. Got out just last year, earlier this year, I think it was out for a couple months because he was sick. They let him out. Then he died, I believe it was July 6th. And not even 2 weeks later is when they ran into Keefe D's house. Not even 2 weeks later. Was they waiting for him to pass away because maybe he would have not let this fake narrative go down the way it is? Was that what they was really waiting for all this time? For Mutulu Shakur to pass away? I'm just sitting there thinking, like, that's real ironic. All this time, he gets out of jail and passes away. Right after that, they arrest Keefe D. And also another thing about Keefe D too. Here's the other thing about Keefe D. Some people try to raise the point that Keefe D and then might have got Biggie because Puffy didn't pay them this money for getting Tupac. The money never reached them. So there's supposed to be this $1 million that Puffy paid to the dude Zip. Zip supposedly, instead of giving it to Keefe D and them, allegedly kept it and beat Keefe D and them. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they didn't get paid. So that's why you see Keefe D going around talking about Puffy, talking about Puffy's grimy. They should be giving them money, stuff like that. But if you really sit there and think about this, Tupac was killed 6 months before Biggie was. You know what I'm saying? So if Keefe D did that or thought he was doing that for Puffy and he never got paid, and people were saying, oh, that's why they killed Biggie at in LA, don't you think within 6 months, if they really felt like they was owed some money from Puffy, what would make Puffy so comfortable that he could still go out there and rely on them again, knowing you already got beef with Bloods? So you mean to tell me that Puffy would have went to LA knowing you already got beef with Suge and the Bloods and knowing you didn't pay Keefe D this money that they want, and you're going to be that comfortable to go out there and still rely on their protection? That don't make sense. All this narrative about Keefe D talking about this money from Puffy, it don't really add up. They really don't add up, because if there's some real gangsters, like it seems like they really were and are, you know what I'm saying, Keefe D and them, you mean to tell me they sat back for 6 whole months after killing Tupac without getting paid the money they're supposed to get from Puffy, and then going to agree to protect him when he came back out there again? I think Puffy's smart enough to know, even if that was the case and Keefe D was on some old trying to reel him in, acting like everything was all good, and then kill him or Biggie when they get out there, I don't think Puffy would have went out there knowing he didn't get his boy this money like he's supposed to have gave him. You already talking about somebody who got beef with a whole section of people out there. You're not going to take a chance in your life going out there knowing you just played around with the people that was already protecting you. You're not going to play around with them, some real gangsters, and then go out there and then rely on them to really have to really protect you against some other people you really got beef with. So that don't add up. This whole thing is a narrative. Also, the Greg Kading situation. How is Greg Kading not held, facing any kind of repercussions for not only recording this so-called confession, this proffer agreement with Keefe D, but then leaking it out to the public years later? Ain't there some kind of crime in that? And what I said in the previous video I made the other day was about this being done with Greg Kading and the LAPD and the DA and stuff like that, and even if they was cooperating with Las Vegas. But now I think what I realized now is that this was, at this point, was already this little federal task force they put together, which really even says proves my point even further. If this was a federal task force, they actually had jurisdiction to go outside of Los Angeles grounds, you know what I'm saying, and state grant anywhere is federal, you know what I'm saying. So even with all that, they still didn't charge nobody. And from what I'm hearing, I'm not sure this is true or not. This is also another mistake I made that may or may not be true. Some people were saying that 2 of the people that was in the car allegedly with Keefe D and Orlando Anderson were still alive then, the dude Dre and somebody else. So if that's the case, if that is the case, because I said everybody was dead except Keefe D, but if 2 people were still alive, that still even further, you know what I'm saying, raises my point of, well, they're not making the proffer agreement. How come they didn't go try to arrest them after Keefe D made this statement? Ain't that enough to go up and try to arrest these two? You know what I'm saying? So two things I wasn't clear on. If they're truly not what I said they was, that even only proves my point further. You know what I mean? Then all this other thing is, now today they're saying that they went to talk to Suge Knight to see if he would testify against Keefe D. And allegedly with TMZ is saying, you know, we know you can't trust TMZ all the way, you know what I'm saying? But they're saying that Suge Knight was like, for one, he's not going to testify. He said, no way in hell I'm not testifying. And for two, he said, they're barking up the wrong tree. He said the police is not, the person who got Tupac is not who the police think. I know it's because this is the thing, when you look at stuff like this, you got to think about it in a bigger point of view. You can't look at it as no street stuff. That's why a lot of people keep getting caught up on the regular narrative. You got to understand, when these people plan stuff, they plan stuff for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, couple hundred years ahead sometime. Some of these agendas that play out have been planned for 100 years ahead of time. These economical stuff and all these big worldly things, you know what I'm saying? You got to remember where Tupac comes from. You got to remember that his background. He's not just a rapper. He's out of every rapper that has ever existed, Tupac is really the main person that was not only a rapper based on his background. You know what I'm saying? So you got to always take that into consideration. It's like J. Edgar Hoover and them said years ago, the next time these jokers have a messiah, we'll give it to them. We're not going to let nobody rise up to play that part again. You know what I mean? You got to think about it like this. Think about all the young black kids out in the streets right now, gangsters shooting and killing each other right now in every city. Imagine that if overnight all these young black kids who are out here shooting each other in every city overnight woke up tomorrow and said, instead of shooting each other, we're going to just start shooting white people, or we're going to start shooting the cops, or we're going to start shooting whoever else. That's literally all it takes to change. I'm not saying this is what they should be doing. I'm just saying, like, the shift in people's minds is literally all it takes to change a whole entire thing. You know what I'm saying? Overnight, or let's put it this way, say if we all tomorrow woke up and said, we ain't buying gas no more until the gas goes down to $1 a gallon, and everybody really woke up tomorrow and nobody really went and bought gas, guess what? Tomorrow, 2 days from now, the gas price will be $1 a gallon. Why? Because they have no other choice. Or if we went out here tomorrow and said, you know what, nobody's going to work. Ain't nobody in the whole entire country going to work unless we get paid a certain amount of money an hour. Guess what? A day from now, 2 days from now, that's what happened, because everybody. So that's what I'm saying about having to get rid of a person like Tupac. That's the influence he had on people. You know what I'm saying? That could have potentially made something be something that they didn't want to happen. So that's how you gotta think about these things like that. You can't look at it as a small street thing, because then you get lost in just some street dudes came. You got to look at this stuff bigger than that. These are worldly events, you know, at least national events. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I was sitting here to think about. It just hit me like, after all that time Mutulu Shakur did, got out of jail and died, and right after that is when they went and arrested Keefe D. There got to be something to that.